Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back, everyone. We are creatures of habit. Not many of us like to make changes. We like life to be the same. You get up every day, rinse and repeat, have that cup of coffee, do your day. There's going to be changes along the way, but we don't normally institute change. But we need to. Life is always evolving, always changing. Now take that if you are responsible for others. You're leading a team. How do you bring on change with them? Maybe there's an announcement you need to make, maybe a direction you need to go in. I just got a download of a song. David Bowie was a hit back in the mid-'70s called Changes. Changes, turn and face the strange. Changes. We're talking about changes today. She helps leaders all the time move their life forward. One of her niches is working with nonprofits, but she works with many in all different areas. And it's great to have her back here as our professional of the year. Carey's on the program. How are you doing?
I'm really good. Really good. Looking forward to this conversation.
Likewise. Why do we not fully embrace change? What's psychologically what's going on there?
I think it's fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And instead of embracing it and thinking, oh, I'm going to learn something new or something's going to be different, and looking at how you can face that and learn from it, we tend to step back and blame others for the change. We can be really negative.
It is fear. It is. Thank you for saying that. It's much as I don't want to admit it,
It is. Yeah.
It is. And yeah,
we've all been there.
We've all been there, and many times on a daily basis. Do you feel that it's possible to rewire your thinking to look at change in a positive way?
Well, I think so. And my job as a leader has always been, and if you want to be a successful leader, you need to be able to really approach change in a positive way for your team. Because you won't be successful with the change if you're not positive.
They're going to take their cue from you. So
absolutely.
Karen, why don't we look at a hypothetical situation?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's say you have a company and they're making cutbacks, and there could be some staff changes. There could be some bonus structure changes. Again, I'm just top of my head, but it kind of follows suit with today's economic climate, if you will.
Absolutely.
Got to make that announcement. Now, with that change or changes, there might be some good things. You know what? We are going to let the staff work 4 days at home instead of 5. This we want, we can get that done. You need to make that announcement to your staff.
Yeah.
You're fearing it. You don't even know if your job's secure. Now you got to tell everybody else, hey, don't worry, whatever. How do you do that? This is the best way I'm going to describe it. How do you drink the Kool-Aid so that you feel comfortable in doing it?
Right. I think first, as a leader, you have to examine your own saboteurs and really recognize if you're afraid of this change or if you're afraid of how your team is going to respond, and really get those negative feelings under control and look at how you can make this a positive experience for them. Like we said before, no one likes change. So one of the things, once you're thinking positive and aren't in that negative realm, you go to your staff and you bring up the idea that we're going to have some changes. And one of the things we want to do is make sure, because most of the time, a lot of staff or your team are going to be immediately, oh my gosh, what does this mean for me? Is my program going to be cut? Whatever. So what you do as a leader is you help them stop thinking negatively and by looking at the positive. And how you get them sort of thinking that way is you help them be curious or be creative. And maybe, explain to them the purpose and passion of why we're doing this. It could be that someone asks a question like, what is the reason that we're doing this? I'm fearful. And one of the things as a leader you could say is, we want to improve how we're promoting ourselves, how we're delivering services. We want to do a better job. So we're going to make some changes to help that happen. So once you're able to have them really thinking positively about this and, use some empathy, help them be there instead of in those thinking those negative thoughts, like judging you as the leader or judging their board or whomever. That's not going to be successful in getting a change to happen and have everybody to be on the same page. So you want to encourage and promote a more positive and sort of an initiative taking purpose or approach to the change. So one of the things that you do as a leader is you really need to help them feel confident and comfortable that they can trust that they can share how they're feeling.
How you should always be honest
Oh, absolutely.
and authentic and genuine. Side note,
Mhm.
and this is, in my journey, I encountered somebody that wasn't. It was the only job that I got released from. But here's the situation: I went from working at a big company, intentionally working for a smaller one. Just wanted, a different
Right,
feel. I wanted more hands-on. I wanted to do more things. And,
right.
they had a little financial stuff going on there. It was right around 2008, like lots going on there. And the owner said, "Yeah, I'll always let you know. If things are, a little dicey here, I'll give you a heads up that things might be changing. I appreciate that." We'd say it again. Just let me know, man. If anything's, I know things are tough. Just let me know. One November Saturday morning at 7 a.m., I wake up to an email that says that I'm no longer employed there. And all you had to do is just be honest.
Wow.
No
That's
other,
so sad.
no other tip off, none whatsoever. After all of those talks, just was deflating. Like, really? Yeah, come on. Just all you had to do was call in advance. Listen, just let you know. Even if he knew in advance, just tell me 2 weeks in advance of that, like, things could be changing. Okay, thank you for letting me know. I appreciate your honesty. That being said, let's say you're the leader in our hypothetical situation.
Mhm.
How deep do you go with that? Let's say you don't really know what's coming next. Should you even say, but I am going to tell you that I'm not really sure how this is going to go? You're being honest in terms of what you're thinking, or should you temper that information?
Well, I think that honesty is always the best
I
policy.
agree because I pilot by this. People can spot a phony, so energetically
Absolutely.
they're going to feel like he's not really being him. If you lay it on the line, like, we're making some changes, I can't guarantee what's going to happen here. It's for the better overall, and that's what I
Yeah.
got for you. By the way, 4 days a week, you guys can work here and one day from home.
Right. I think that one of the most important things is that you let them know that you don't know all the answers at this point in time.
Yes.
I think that's really important. And that there's going to be challenges. And, that you will keep them informed. Let's say, for example, in this hypothetical situation, that you're about to lose $1 million grant or funding, $1 million. Now, that's not chicken feed, but you can share that. I mean, because that will say a lot to your team. And, you know, you may say to them, I'm going to have to possibly lay off some people, but I'm going to do everything I can to make those cuts very minimal. And, you know, being that honest leader will help them feel a bit relieved.
Yeah.
And then it's really, really important that you keep them informed of the process, that you're not off in your office somewhere making all these changes to laying off people, cutting programs, those kind of things. Now, they may not be able to be involved in the layoff part if that's going to actually happen. But there's going to be challenges along the way. Like if you as a leader decide that there are some programs that are not being effective, maybe that's where you look at making some layoff decisions. But there's going to be other challenges, like how do you manage this? I think it's really important to go to your team and empower them to help you with those challenges. Because if they're actually feel empowered and part of the change, then they'll feel like they have a stake in this. You know, if they are passionate about the work that they're doing, they're going to hopefully be looking at what is best for those people that they're serving or for the products that they're making.
Do you feel like a lot of leaders in these situations, and it can happen often, take it personally? So that $1 million grant that was lost, it's not on them. That it is. I hate to use this term, but it is what it is. There's no other way to explain it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the things that happens when leaders approach the team with this whole scenario, they're fearful to have the team share their concerns because they're afraid that they will feel like it's all their fault and that the team will blame them.
Yes.
So that's why a lot of times leaders just skip that part. So, you know, how would you feel? I think you already gave that example. You weren't part of it at all. You thought, yes, there was some changes happening, but you had no idea that what that would mean.
No.
Until it was all over.
And ultimately, I knew at some point it could lead to that situation. All I wanted to do was be informed as we discussed. That's it.
Exactly.
And I didn't think it was asking for much. And he's the one that even said it. I'll always keep. I can see it in my mind. Decades later, a day and a half. I'm like in his office. I'll let you know. Don't worry. You know, we're all good here. We're all good. Okay. Just follow through. Maybe that's the other lesson there. Leaders follow through. If you say something, like if you say, "I'll have an update for you Tuesday at 2 p.m." Have an update at Tuesday at 2 p.m. Don't forget about it. Don't delay it. Follow through.
And I think that if you include your team and looking at the challenges and get them involved, you'd be surprised how often they will say, I don't want to lose my job, but my program is just really not delivering what we hoped it would. Because everybody in the room knows that. They know who's doing a good job and who's not doing a good job. They know, where the fluff is coming from, so get them involved and help them be a team in making these decisions. Now, when it's the actual potential laying off people, no, they can't make that decision. That's what they pay the leader to do. Your board or whomever, you have to make that decision. but help the staff understand, like maybe it's after the fact. You can't discuss like when a team member is doing a poor job. You can't talk about their job performance, but you can talk about the program is not being effective. It's not bringing in the revenue that we had originally hoped, because they're all sitting there, they know that. So sharing that, because if you want to truly be a team and you want them to see all the positive things that can come out of this change, then you need to bring them on board. Because remember, your team members, when they trust you as a leader and they're inspired by you, they're going to come up with maybe some dynamite ideas that you as a leader had never even thought of. They can be very innovative and maybe save a lot of money in regards to certain areas that it never even crossed your mind. So give them that opportunity to be involved.
I'm getting from you the authenticity thing is so key in leadership. Like you just need to be real about all of this, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You'll find, for those leaders who are afraid to ask their team how they're feeling, shame on them. That's what it's all about. I mean, if it's not this scenario, it's going to be another scenario. Having your team feel confident and comfortable that they're able to share how they feel, whether it's positive or negative, is okay, because the leader is not perfect. The leader has problems, challenges, just like they do. Hopefully, the leader, if they're a good leader, they can rise above that. But there's nothing even wrong with saying, to your team, I'm struggling with this too. This is not easy. But we need, as a team, to do the best we can and come out of this looking good. So and having our program or our business be stronger than ever.
We talk about change and connected to leadership. Along the way, should you be doing check-ins? Should you intentionally ask how the team is doing? How are you guys feeling? Should you leave it open to suggestion? Back in the day, it used to be the suggestion box. You fill something out and drop it in there. Is that okay?
I mean, I don't care for that personally, unless you have a huge company. But if you have a huge company, then you should have direct managers that work with a certain amount of people. Your direct reports. I have always been of the mind that meeting once a month, at least, more often if there's some real serious issues that are happening, sit down and talk with them. Yes, absolutely. You don't know how they're feeling and they don't know how you're feeling. They also don't know if they're doing a good job. So you need to be able to do that. And I'm all about like writing little notes. Great job. The project you did was super, so they have that.
That and goes so far. That we don't nowadays with everything in personal technology, texts, emails, a Post-it note that just, you walk into work one day and on your computer screen, great job with the sale, and the boss's name, Mike, whatever. I would melt if a leader did that.
Yeah.
Wow.
One thing that I did as a leader was actually everybody had like a little candy jar on their desk. And we just got in the habit of writing little Post-it notes. And then you'd give them to them and they would put them in there, in their little candy jar. And when they're having a bad day or things are not going the way they had hoped, it gives you the opportunity to open that up and take a look at those and remind yourself that I'm doing a really good job. Yes, this is a real challenge that I'm working on, this one project, but I'll figure it out and I will do well.
What are your thoughts on doing reviews?
Oh, I think that's critical.
Okay.
Team members want to know how they're doing. They want to know the expectations of the leader of them. And I think, doing it at least once a year, and I really get upset when I hear leaders who don't talk to their staff until their review. And maybe they've been doing something wrong for 6 months and they never knew that it was not the right procedure. So now it's on their review. They haven't had the opportunity to make any changes or improve it. That's really deflating.
We could do a whole podcast on reviews, I think.
Oh, yeah.
How to do them the right way. Bringing back scarring memories for me when I first started in radio as a disc jockey, and it was called weekly critique sessions, where I sat across from my boss and he would play tapes of me when I was on the air and pick apart this, that, and the other. And it was just like, I hope this goes well. But one does not have to think that if the superior is doing it in such a way where there's the positive is highlighted, suggestions are made for improvement. It's I think it's an art. I think it's an art in doing that the right way.
Absolutely. So I guess, for all the people listening, I would just say, really try to embrace change. Yeah. Instead of looking at it as this big bad thing that's going to ruin your life, think about what positive things could come out of change.
The opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, you can learn so much about yourself and the business you're in by looking at things differently.
100%. And yes, change can be challenging. And let's say you lose a position and it's going to hurt. Yes. Then economically, there's going to be some challenges there. But now the opportunity, you maybe have some contacts that you made at that job. You can use them, start looking for a better job. If you look, you're going to find. Now you have the opportunity. Carey, great talking with you today. I love the fact that you're real. There's so many are not, and it's key, especially in coaching. How do we find you? What's the best way?
Just go to my website, www.thrivecoachingandconsulting.com. Spell it out, please, or you can call me on my phone, 775-790-2978.
If there is a time to, as a leader, learn how to relate to your staff, how to work through change, it would be now. Lots of changes happening.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I would just leave us today and say, don't just survive, thrive.
Love it. Thank you so much for today. We'll catch up soon.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.